Hey guys, so we only have one more week until the Spider-Man No Way Home movie, so I'm going to be reviewing that and putting out my spoiler and spoiler-free review, and I'm actually going to be seeing the very first session of it, and I got the very last ticket for the very first session, so I was pretty happy about that. And it's going to be at midnight. I've never seen a midnight movie before, so I'm going to need a lot of coffee, but it'll be worth it. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch in preparation all of the Spider-Man movies. So I haven't seen the Tobey Maguire ones. I haven't seen the Andrew Garfield ones. I've only seen the Tom Holland ones. So I thought I'm going to rewatch the Tom Holland ones and watch all the other ones. So if you want to see that and my No Way Home reviews, then please feel free to subscribe if you want to go on this Spider-Man journey with me. Or just give this video a like, it really helps my channel. So anyway, I had this on DVD back in the day. So for you young people, you teenagers watching my channel, because I know that I do have a large audience that are teenagers, you know what? You might not know what a DVD is. Okay, I'm being sarcastic. You probably do know what it is, but you might not have watched one. Anyway, us old people used to watch them back in the day, but you know what? I can't be bothered watching it on DVD because you have to get up and put it in the machine and it takes so much effort. I'd rather just rent it on YouTube for $5 because that is how lazy I am. And you know what? On YouTube, you can see it in high definition. So, yeah. Anyway, so I watched this for the very first time, and I've got to say, it was really cool to see how I feel like this movie really set the standard for superhero movies for everything that was to come after it with Marvel and DC in so many ways. Because, okay, look, no offense to anybody who disagrees with me, but I feel like before this movie, comic book movies weren't taken seriously, either were its audience. People thought of comic book movies as being, you know, movies about men in tights who were pretty ridiculous, and it was just mainly for kids. Of course, there was like the Tim Burton Batman movies, which were pretty well received, and they should be because they're amazing, but they weren't really mainstream yet. I feel like this is the first comic book movie that really got mainstream audiences to sit up and pay attention and see that yes, this actually can be a valid form of storytelling, and that it can be deep and meaningful and have all these messages behind it, and it can be for adults as well. So yeah, this was a pretty cool movie to see. You know, I feel like this movie is one which is very reflective of its time period, because we see that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is very much bullied. He's a bit of a nerd, a bit of an outcast, and you know, he's a good-looking guy. You know, you wouldn't think in these days he would be that way, but I guess it's like I said, it's reflective of its time period and of its fan base. And now Tom Holland's one is more of just a regular guy because it's more appealing to the fan base, which is now made of, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying not to be like offensive to anybody, but the fan base of comic book movies has become a lot more mainstream than when things started to pick up. When I was a teenager, you know, liking this stuff wasn't really cool back then. And you were a bit like Seth Cohen from the OC, if anybody's seen that show. So anyway, you know, it's really obviously an early 2000 movie by the opening credits, which go for like 3 minutes. And I mean, 3 minutes isn't a long period of time, but when you're watching opening credits, it feels like forever. Though the opening credits were pretty cool. Okay, so we're only 5 minutes into the movie, and we've already got some teenagers playing hacky sack. So it's pretty obvious this movie is from the early 2000s, late 90s sort of time period. So one thing I couldn't help thinking is when Peter gets bitten by the spider, why doesn't he go to a doctor? Like, obviously, yes, he's probably concerned that the government will like kidnap him and do experiments on him, because they probably would, let's face it. But at the same time, isn't that preferable to death? But he is a teenager, and no offense to teenagers, but they don't always make the smartest decisions. I'm speaking from personal experience. So you know what? It's very credible that he did get bitten by some mutant spider and then just go home and think, I hope for the best, you know? Hopefully I won't turn into some sort of half mutant freak. But he doesn't. He turns into a cool sort of mutant. So it all worked out in the end. Anyway, so one thing I couldn't help noticing is that, okay, so everybody kept saying how great Willem Dafoe, I can never say his name right, so if I'm saying it wrong, if I say William Dafoe or something, just forgive me. So Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, a lot of people were saying that he would make a great Joker, and now that I've seen the movie, I can't help but agree with you completely. He would be an amazing Joker, but he also does an amazing job as the Green Goblin. Though I can't help but wonder why he didn't hire somebody to do the experiment that turned him into the Green Goblin. I mean, that was obviously a very risky experiment that hadn't been tested on a human before, and I mean, obviously he didn't want the information to get out, but he could get just somebody to sign like a confidentiality agreement so that they couldn't talk about the experiment. I mean, I don't know. I'm overthinking. See, this is what my adult brain does now. This is a superhero movie. I can't think about it too logically. But anyway, yeah, I think he does an amazing job as the Green Goblin. And yeah, the Green Goblin really gets into Peter's head. I think that's what makes him partly so dangerous, is because he's really good at like analyzing people's weaknesses and their emotions and what makes them tick. So the newspaper boss, played by the character Jonah Jameson, I think his name was called, was definitely my favourite part of this movie. He was hilarious, and I hope he's in the other movies as well. But the least favourite character was probably MJ. I don't know what it is. I think it actually might be partly that I just really don't like Kirsten Dunst as an actress. I don't know what it is about her, but there's something about her as an actress I've always found irritating, so maybe that's my own personal opinions sort of coming into play a little bit. But I also do genuinely find her character of MJ a little bit flighty and, you know, bouncing from guy to guy and playing games a little bit. I don't know, I just didn't really feel like I connected with her character at all. Not that you need to connect with the character to find them to be an interesting character, but I just didn't like her. Anyway, so we see the Green Goblin is fired from his own company that he helped build and create, which I don't really see how that's possible even, but it happens, and you feel sorry for the guy. At least I felt a bit bad for him at first. But then he almost kills his own son, played by James Franco. He's sort of like a little Draco Malfoy wannabe, and he is at one stage of the movie on a balcony and his dad almost kills him and his girlfriend, and it's like, that's the point where I'm like, okay, you're just a bad guy now. He says to Peter, despite everything you have done for them, eventually they will hate you. And it really reminded me a lot of that famous interrogation scene from The Dark Knight, where Joker is basically saying that to Batman. Excuse me. And we see that it actually turns out to be true. They end up hating Batman, and it's sort of similar to the Spider-Man. I think it's number 2 or 3. I don't know. I've seen clips here and there, but I've never actually sat down and watched the movies. But I know at one stage they end up turning on him. Anyway, so I've seen that iconic kiss parodied in The OC by Seth Cohen, like I was talking about earlier. So it was really cool to see the actual movie that was based on, and it was a nice moment. And the cinematography is pretty amazing. Like, it really stands the test of time considering how old this movie is. So I really enjoyed this movie. I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. So let me know in the comments down below what your favourite part of this movie was. And did you dislike MJ as well, or is it just me? And please consider subscribing, like I said, if you want to see more of my Spider-Man reviews. Thanks, guys.